I make these statements freely.
So here's my question about this. Normally I don't like to play trailers. Like trailers are not great. That trailer though is so like, it actually lays out a lot of what the series is about, right? So does he make those statements freely?
That's a really good question. Yes, because I think a lot of, when people go in and get severed, get the procedure done, it's something they choose to do, that they've decided they want to do with their life. And yeah, they make that statement freely. The half of them that is severed, that is at work, that is unaware of the outside world or who they are in the outside world, they didn't make that choice. The person on the outside world made that choice for them.
There's a scene a dinner scene where one of the guys that your character is talking to says, so you're basically a prisoner there at the office. Without any spoilers, it's a dystopian workplace drama that's in the realm of sci-fi. These are not normal genres for you, by the way.
Right.
But that has the setup that we just described. This is what these people undergo. But what's it really about? And what was it that made this appealing to you, given that it's not really your genre, right? You've done a lot of drama, you've done a lot of comedy, but not a lot of sci-fi.
You get this chip implanted in your brain, so when you go to work and get on the elevator, there's something triggered in the chip. So while you're at work, you have no idea who you are in the outside world. Vice versa, when you take the elevator up, at the end of the day, it gets triggered back. And in the outside world, you lose all the memories that you of what you did that day at work. So it's two separate lives. I mean, when I read it, first Ben Stiller told me about the idea in like January of 2017. I remember I was standing in the snow at Sundance, and he called me and just kind of gave me the elevator pitch, like the 3-sentence big idea, the hook of the show. And I couldn't kind of get it out of my head and didn't read an actual script for another couple of years. So when I read the script, what I thought, my initial reaction was like, this is exactly what I want to watch. This is the kind of show that I love watching, purely from an audience member's perspective. As far as being a part of it, I've never had a chance to really be a part of something like that. So I thought, if I get to actually land this job, it almost felt like this is what I've been working towards, what I've been kind of earning for 20 odd years, is a chance to get a role like this in a show like this with someone like Ben and Dan Erickson, who created and wrote it. To me, it really felt like the culmination of everything that sort of came before.
It is dystopian. I mean, just the way it looks is so that kind of like early 70s, kind of noir,
parallax
sci-fi.
view.
Parallax view, like a noir sci-fi, which is kind of like, or like a little bit of Blade Runner to it. Like there's like not quite so techie, but you know what I'm saying? It's like has that. It's very dark.
Yep.
And it's meant to make you feel alienated as you watch it, right? I mean, first of all, this is 17, right? When Ben's talking to you about it, right?
Yeah.
Trump has just been elected.
Yeah.
That sense of the dystopian things. We're starting to seem more like this kind of wave of dystopian stuff was about to happen, right? Evil corporations doing stuff, again, very early 70s, kind of popping up in the culture. By the time you guys get to shoot it, we're in the middle of the pandemic. Where like it couldn't be more dystopian, right? So again, I ask you like kind of like, what do you think it's about? What's the show really like about at core, about alienation at work, about, I mean, people can make glib comments about the work-life balance or whatever, but what's it really getting into that connects with the culture? Because I think it does.
Well, I mean, I think that's all a great way into the characters. I mean, for me, I feel the show, at least this season, is largely about grief and about how to come to terms with grief. I think it's about many things, but that's kind of where I found it, was this character who is grieving his wife and chooses the severance procedure to exit his life for 10 hours a day, whatever, just so he doesn't have to feel. And this other side of him still has those feelings inside of him, but just doesn't know what they are, how to locate or name it. But physiologically, those things are still there. And so it's about this person and both halves of this person coming to terms with a lot of things, but for me, I felt it was mainly grief.
Right.
And all the corporate stuff and all of that is incredibly important too. But I guess when you're asking like the core of what it's about,
right?
For me, that's where it lies.
I remember when we were texting about this when you came out here, right? So you came to New York to shoot this thing in October
2020,
and you were here for 9 months, 8 months.
Yeah,
long time, right?
Yeah,
peak COVID time, right? You're living like basically alone in like an apartment in Tribeca, like far away from your family.
Yeah.
And your mom had just died?
Yeah.
Shooting stuff during COVID was hard for everybody.
Yeah.
You know, the circus was in production. We all had the challenges of that. But it seems like your experience with this would have been even more emotionally resonant. If that's what the show's about grief, you're having your own experience of grief, and you're having to go through it in this very dislocated, weird environment where you're like basically isolated for a long shoot with a lot of complexity and a lot of people getting sick and some people dying and all that stuff.
Yeah, and I have wife, a son, and a daughter in Los Angeles. My mom died like days before pandemic, days before lockdown. And so we actually didn't end up having a memorial for her until this past December,
right?
Because of everything. Over the 5-6 months of lockdown, I was in with the 3 people who I love the most, who love me the most, and I don't want to say cushioned the blow, but they loved me. And so we kind of, the loss of my mom they really helped me through it, as family does. And then suddenly, like you said, I found myself here alone in October of 2020, and that changes things. And so you're alone in an apartment in a city that's locked down. I have friends here, but it's not like there was a ton of socializing, and I couldn't get sick because the show we'd have to shut down. I did get COVID at one point and did have to shut down. So I realized then, sitting in this apartment by myself, that I had a lot of grieving still to do, and I had to come to terms with this loss. And the only place I had to turn to really was the show. And so I came to terms with her death and with my grieving through the show more than anything.
Yeah. And do you think that I'm always curious about this, right? I mean, an actor in a role like this, right, you bring a lot of your stuff to the table, right? So given your circumstances, it's like seems obvious, it seems natural that the elements, the grief element would be a thing that you would attach yourself to in this material, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that's because it's innately in the material, or do you think that's more like what you're bringing to the material? Like if I had asked Ben about it in 2017 when the script was first coming together, well, he would say, "Yeah, it's a meditation on grief."
Yeah, I don't know.
It's an interesting,
it's a good question.
I mean, there's all these different.
That's why I say
for
me, that's what it was about, because it was, and the show. Thank God the show was there for me at that time. If the show was about dancing, I don't know if I would have been able to really go through this grieving process that I kind of allowed myself to. The show character circumstances allowed for me to really dig into it and figure it out. And, I can't speak for Ben, but Ben, he lost his father around the same time.
Right? Yeah.
And I think, we were both feeling it.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen to my entire conversation with Adam Scott on the Hell and High Water podcast, available wherever you get your podcasts, or watch it on YouTube.